Harry Flannery replaced
Yeah, we touched on that.
Scherer. And Flannery did not know German and did not know Germany, and his broadcasts were not really up to scratch. And they complained to him and said, hire somebody to help you who knows about Germany. So he offered me a job for the amazing sum of $100 a week, and that's more money than I ever dreamt was possible. And I took it, and Erskine was furious. He said, we brought you here at great expense. I said, you did not. I was already here. I was at Oxford. He said, I'm going to see that you're blackballed from every news outlet in New York. And I walked out then. I worked for CBS after that. Flannery was sent home, and I took over the whole thing. But it was really very sterile because the Germans by that time were really fed up with us. They had allowed Scherer to become famous. They had given Flannery many scoops. They had failed in every case, so they weren't going to do anything for me except make life miserable, which they did. And one night, they handed me a script, not only penciled out lots of it, but also written in. They'd written in about several minutes worth of copy. I said, gentlemen, who wrote this? One of the censors said, I did. I said, well, you know I can't read that. He said, you will read it. I said, no, I won't. He said, you've had your own way too long, Mr. Smith. We're fighting for our lives. You Americans are arrogant. I said, well, I don't know about that, but I can't read that. They said, you won't work here anymore. So I went out, and I was delighted to hear from the correspondents of NBC and Mutual that the same thing happened to them. So it was a plan. I received a telegram the next day from the German radio saying you're not allowed to work in this country anymore. I went to the Foreign Office to get a visa to leave the country. You had to have a permit to leave. And they said, no visa to leave. So I was locked in Germany with nothing to do. I was scared because that was on the path to the concentration camp. My life was changed radically at that point because I fell in love with a red-haired girl from Denmark who was working for a Danish newspaper. And I forgot about the menace to me. We agreed to get married, and I went back to the embassy and I said, what do I do? And we didn't have an ambassador then. Roosevelt had withdrawn all ambassadors from Germany after the Kristallnacht, when they burned all the Jewish synagogues and killed so many Jews. And we had a charge d'affaires. And the charge was named George Kennan, a man who would save the world a little bit later, but right then he was devoted to saving me. He said, you know, they did not disaccredit CBS. They just discredited you. We'll ask CBS to send a replacement, or to promise to send a replacement, then maybe they'll give you a permit to leave. He did that, and they did. The Germans gave me a permit that said within 48 hours, get out of here or go to jail. And so I got out in 48 hours. And the night I arrived the day I arrived in Switzerland was the day that will live in infamy. The Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and we were in the war. 3 days later, Hitler declared war on us, and I was an enemy and couldn't get out of Switzerland. The Germans controlled all the exits. So I was locked in Switzerland, waiting for my bride to come.
Did you, in fact, leave on the last train from Berlin?
My train crossed the border just about the time the Japanese were bombarding Pearl Harbor, and you couldn't get out after that.